So let's talk about how you can avoid some of the major pitfalls that are going to come your way when it comes to running online marketing campaigns. You know, we've run a lot of campaigns for quite a wide variety of businesses, but there's definitely some similarities in the key problems and the key pitfalls that people often fall into. And sadly, it costs a lot of money and sometimes it can be pretty devastating for business. So this video is going to go through the top 5 pitfalls that we want to make you aware of so you can avoid them. So the first thing to make you aware of is good results today don't mean good results tomorrow. And what I mean by that is the way adverts serve to devices is very much closely tied with how much those adverts cost to be displayed. I want you to imagine for a second that you're serving cocktails at a massive party and you're trying to go around the room figuring out who you think wants a cocktail and probably ignore the ones who don't. Serving ads is kind of similar. If you look at Instagram or Facebook, if you have an ad that's optimized to do a certain thing, Facebook uses all the information it has about those people to figure out and kind of rank order who's most likely to want to consume that ad and who's least likely to consume that ad. Obviously, it's going to be a lot cheaper and easier to serve adverts to people who want to consume it. It's going to be more expensive and it's going to take you longer to serve ads to people who don't want to consume it. So going back to this idea of the cocktail party, you're probably going to be able to isolate the people in the audience who are getting on it. They've got a few drinks in their hand maybe already. And as you work the room, you figure out, well, I'm going to give these people cocktails and these people cocktails. And you'll find at the start, it's actually very easy to isolate who wants one. And it doesn't take much of your time to start getting rid of your first trays of cocktails. As this process goes on a little bit and as you start to serve these cocktails more and more, the audience remaining is going to get smaller and smaller. And not only that, the audience remaining is most likely going to be people who don't have a high affinity to want to drink cocktails. And before you know it, it's becoming more and more difficult to serve cocktails and it's taking you longer and longer. It's becoming a more expensive process. This is exactly why the price of advertising doesn't often follow a linear increase as time goes on. So as your audience slowly gets exhausted and as your options for serving the remaining ads becomes smaller and smaller and less interested in what you've got to say, your cost will tend to follow an exponential increase, which means that very quickly your costs can double, triple, if not quadruple, if not worse in a short space of time if you're not carefully monitoring what your costs are when it comes to serving your ads. So in short, if you've started running ads and the results have been really good, definitely be careful because you don't want to run into trouble leaving ads running only to find out when you look back in the month that your costs skyrocketed exponentially and you've just been burning money and burning ad budget and damaging your business in the process. So that's definitely the first one. The second thing is about not considering the right returns on your ad spend. Let me give you an example of running an engagement campaign. If you're on Instagram and you build an engagement campaign, you might know that that objective is all about trying to root out the users who have the highest likelihood of engaging with your message. That means that you can spend a relatively small amount of money and have quite a lot of comments and likes coming in on posts. Now, this can be good if that's what your goal is in a wider strategy. But if that's something that you're using as like a key performance indicator, you could start running into murky waters. And let me explain a little bit more about why. Now, you might be aware that there's tons of shady marketers out in the world who use all sorts of apps that do auto liking or auto commenting, and avoiding this can be tough. But let's say you make an engagement campaign worldwide, which says, I just want the most amount of engagements on my Instagram posts for the smallest amount of budget. You'll probably find that the algorithms to do with serving ads are going to do exactly what you've asked. They're going to find the regions in the world that are going to get you the cheapest engagements for the small amount of money. Now that really means that your post is probably just going to end up getting shown to robots, whether that's click farms in Asia or whether that is auto likers that we have in America or the UK. You're probably not even reaching real people. You're going to be reaching apps that are going to be doing these automatic processes. So not only are you wasting your money, but you're getting this whole ton of engagement that is fake and you're not even aware of it because it probably wasn't even your intention to do that. At the end of the day, if you're not measuring the that actual financial return that's coming back into your business, you can get bogged down with all of these vanity metrics like Facebook likes or Instagram likes or comments that actually don't mean anything to your business. So when you're measuring your return on ad spend, do make sure that your strategy makes a little bit more sense from start to finish, i.e., if I'm going to run this type of campaign here, it's going to lead to this kind of traffic that's going to lead to these kind of purchases. And that's the sort of measurement you need to be making. What ad spend am I putting in and what real results are coming back? And you want to avoid measuring things like just pointless traffic or likes or engagements on your social media platforms that don't actually bring you the results you want. And do remember, some of these engagement campaigns can be quite fun to run because they bring a whole ton of traffic into your platforms, but you can't run a business on dopamine. So please, please, please make sure you've got the right measuring stick on the right results when it comes to figuring out what's working and what's not. I would say probably the third biggest pitfall that I see is not taking the time to plan. People are often quite eager to go in and start running ads. They want to go in and start building campaigns and they want to get results quickly. But sometimes you've really got to take a deep breath as a business owner or a content creator or a public figure, and you've got to strategize first exactly what you're trying to do. If it's getting leads to a website, if it's selling things online, if it's doing an online course or selling a book, taking that time to actually sit and strategize and actually draw out every step from someone discovering you to actually purchasing a product is actually quite a complicated process. It's going to need lots of different bits of content. It's going to need lots of different types of ad targeting. And don't get me wrong, you're going to need to chop and change and optimize all of this stuff as you go, but don't just dive in and start making ads. Sit, think, strategize, and get your plan together first before spending money. It will pay dividends in the long run, because if you start just running with ad spend, chances are you're going to end up wasting budget and using it ineffectively because you haven't thought of the bigger picture. So think about your overall strategy and make sure it makes sense before spending a penny online. Number 4 on the most common pitfalls list is definitely going to be about expectation. And this definitely ties into understanding your product and potentially where your downfalls as a company might be. One of the biggest problems I see is people who want to get into online marketing and they want to spend big budgets because they think it's some magic wand that's just going to repair problems with the company. It isn't. Online marketing, if anything, can be a massive magnifying glass under the key issues that you have. You know, setting your expectations to understand that online marketing isn't this one brush fits all overnight repair to everything that's going wrong. You want to understand what the actual goals you're trying to achieve are. You know, maybe you want to increase your subscriber base and then therefore increase your sales. Maybe you want to be getting subscribers in at £2 or generate video views at a certain price because it fits in with your strategy to get your final result. The whole idea is be very aware about the expectations you've set and be realistic. This is not some magical formula that's just going to turn your business into an overnight success. Making sure we're cultivating good relationships with people, that we have a good product, that we're presenting it well and it's giving genuine value to people. That's really the most important thing, and the most clever online marketing in the world won't fix that. So definitely get your expectations in line to understand what your goals are and how likely you are to achieve them, because that's where the magic's going to happen in terms of optimizing and refining towards a realistic expected goal, and not just hoping that this stuff is going to be some magic pill that's going to fix everything. Number 5 on our list is going to be people who get seduced at some point by black hat marketers. The reason why people do get seduced is because if you are hearing that you can get super cheap leads and you can get tons of traffic to your website that's going to boost sales and it's not going to cost you much, you can understand why people do buy into these ideas, but don't. And let me explain to you just how damaging this stuff is. You know, online marketing should feel like this long, forever evolving process of testing and measuring campaigns and seeing what's effective, what isn't, refining and optimizing. The reason why it should feel like that is because your business is very unique. Your customers and the way you interact and your aesthetic is unique to you. You can't just plug in some one-size-fits-all strategy. So when people come up to you and say, well, I can get you tons of traffic or tons of cheap leads, you've got to start questioning How and why is that possible for any business to just get all this stuff for next to nothing? It's because it's a scam. It's really quite simple, and you can prove this to yourself. If you go and build a traffic campaign right now within your business manager, and you go and choose an open location to serve ads worldwide, you're going to find every click farm, every bot farm, and every automatic traffic app that's just going to start flooding your website with insanely cheap traffic because it's fake, because they're not real people and you're not cultivating real engaged audiences. So these black hat marketers, these SEO companies who claim to bring you all of this stuff, this is the simple technique they're using. They're using these optimized campaigns to give you fake numbers to make you feel like they're doing something. And even worse than that is if your Instagram and your Facebook pages are getting these floods of data from these very specific sources, your algorithms are going to start to learn which kind of followers are engaging with your content, i.e. all of these fake automatic followers. So that's just going to mean that when you do eventually start to post and try and reach an organic audience, you're just going to be showing it to all of these robots, and you've just shot yourself in the foot when it comes to building a real engaged audience. So that is a really big one. Don't be tricked by all of these SEO, cheap traffic, cheap lead companies. They're not doing you any favors. So that probably rounds up the top 5 biggest pitfalls we see when we're working with new accounts and working with marketers. I really hope that helps you to save some of your ad budgets and just avoid making those mistakes. So have a good one. I'll see you in a bit.